This is an example of a vocabulary development exercise that you can lead students in. You can teach them how to do it. I normally use this word as an example just because most people haven't, most of my students haven't heard of it, and because you don't hear this word very often. So what I tell them, I start off by telling them is that you can look up a word in the dictionary, but that's only a little bit of its meaning, because words in English are more like spheres than planes. So it's not as easy as, okay, I looked it up and now I know this definition. So instead, what I try to help them do is work metacognitively around the word and try to know it in many different ways so that they can have a lot of strategies. They can have an arsenal of strategies. So the first thing that we do is we pronounce the word vitriolic together. Many of them, I even ask them, so can anyone pronounce this word? And then we do get the definition from a dictionary. And in this case, it's caustic, so it's bitter hatred or caustic remarks. Well, so this happens many times where the definition has another vocabulary word that they might not know. So then we go look up caustic and we get the definition that it burns. It's something that burns. So then we talk about part of speech, but we don't just say it's an adjective, because I want to raise their awareness of structures and grammatical structures and functions. It's a specific kind of adjective, so it can't describe objects. It can't describe animals. It's only used to describe people. So that's a narrowing of how we use it. And then we get some synonyms, and then we've already looked at caustic, so we put caustic, spiteful, venomous, and then a lot of the synonyms, you'll notice, are also very difficult vocabulary words. So we try to get some that are a little simpler. Another way to know, and this is what I tell them, is another way to know what a word means is to know what it doesn't mean, to know what its opposite is. So this could be antonyms, and those are pretty easy to find in the thesaurus as well. Then we go and make a sentence, or try to, and this is of course difficult many times, but I'm modeling for them, so I give them a sentence, and so I try to put it into a context, which is another way that we teach vocabulary. And then I try to help them think of some examples of vitriolic characters that they might know about. So they might know about Hitler using vitriol in some of the speeches, that they might know about Ebenezer Scrooge. Then we try to get some related words, and these are derivatives. And so we talk about, what would this word mean if it were, how would we say it if it were a verb? And that would be vitrify. And what about a noun, vitriol? And what about an adverb? So then we have sort of four words for the price of one. For me, learning difficult vocabulary is easier when I have a mnemonic device or a study help. And so I teach them what mnemonic device is, and then I teach them, I tell them this is a problem because one study device doesn't work for everyone. For me, violent and vitriolic work that matches, because it's a violent sounding word. And so I remember it that way, but each person must come up with his or her own way. Another way of learning the word is a translation. So we have many students who speak other languages, and this is pretty easy to do with Google Translate. So here you see the translation for it in Vietnamese. Another way, obviously, is to get an image of a word. And so here's someone being vitriolic, sort of bitter, yelling at someone. It would be that kind of image. So I just put this as a way of kind of showing that there's an awful lot that you can do with vocabulary, and that students need to learn, obviously, as you know, like many different ways to approach words. So they can't just sort of see these words and then go look them up in the dictionary and think that that's going to work. So if you have your students keep a vocabulary notebook, or if you have them keep a log, then this is a really great way of having a page for a word. It usually takes about a page, and then even after that they would need to review it and have maybe a quiz. They might want to use an online source like Quizlet or Study Blue or one of those, vocabulary.com. But this one is a strategy that, while it takes a little bit of time, is pretty useful for learning the vocabulary, not just being exposed to it, but learning it. And then also You could use this obviously if you're reading, when students are reading and you pull out words out of the article or the story or whatever you're reading, they could have the context for the sentence. Instead of the sentence, they could put the context. And so they could have many different vocabulary strategies.